Hello. I will read you this book that I wrote called The Soul's Couch. Night 1. I awoke to a call on my phone that my work building burned down and I had no job. Whoa, wait. Let's stop for a second and talk about what on earth is going on. So first of all, my name is Chris Purnells, and I used to work for a radio tower, but now it's being burned down by a huge wildfire. I live with my mom, Teresa Purnells. We don't talk much and I'm gone most of the day, but it's nice to have company. I got dressed and ran outside to see my work building collapsing and burning down. All I could hear was screams of people rushing in and out of the building. "Ah! Help!" a man shouted as he ran into the street of endless screams. I ran inside to try and get some sleep since it was 3:37 a.m. I was unable to sleep all over the screams in my head, and soon enough the screaming stopped and the sirens began. It all finally stopped around 8 a.m. In the morning, the air smelled of smoke. As I walked to the grocery store that just opened, Mail and Trail. Walked inside and saw lots of people. They were all holding newspapers. They read, "Welcome to JAKALAS Play Place." It had a description. Entertainment for all ages. It didn't say much, but it also said that they were hiring for a night guard, and I really needed a job. So I dialed the number and applied for the job. That night, around 11:30, I drove to JAKALAS Play Place and ran inside. The entire building was old and destroyed. There was a security office with a desk and 2 big doors to the left and some party tables to the right, as well as a show stage that was empty with 2 big purple curtains that draped down to the floor. I walked into the office and sat at the desk. Just stay the night. Sounds easy enough. I sat in the silent building for hours and started to drift off. But then the power went out. Shoot, the power went out. I grabbed my flashlight and walked down the dark hallway. I ran into the kitchen, found a fuse box, flipped the switch, and then the power came on. There, now I can see. I walked into my office and waited for the clock to strike 6. After my shift was over, I ran like a cheetah, hopped in my car, and I was out of there. Night 2. When I got home, I grabbed something to eat and read the newspaper. Apparently, JAKALAS Play Place was getting 2 new animatronics, Jakala the dragon and Priscilla the cat. They were also planning to open tomorrow after my shift was over. They ran in the play place and saw 2 6-foot robots that weigh over 300 pounds each. The robots looked brand new and had instruments. Jakala with the saxophone and Priscilla with the guitar. I ran into my office to see workers installing something. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Installing a camera system." "They were installing a camera system for my office to look for burglars?" "Okay." It was time for my shift to start, so I cleaned the building and ran into my office. Wow, these cameras work great. I looked through the camera and heard an audible boom. Quickly, I turned to look and see one of the robots were gone and were heading straight towards me. I closed my door to my right and left and heard the animatronic come close to my door. Then it left. I opened the door back up and saw the animatronic back on the stage. I wanted to leave, but my shift was not over. I had no choice but to stay. I closed both doors and stayed looking at the cameras for a good long while. But then, suddenly, the power went out, and the robots were slowly coming towards me. The doors flung open simultaneously, and I was left in the dark. Both the robots were at my door, and I was cornered. I could hear their gears turning in their chests as they reached for me. I blacked out. When I awoke, I was tied to a chair. I could see one of the robots. Its eyes were glowing bright. The robot got closer and closer to my face. I just barely untied myself before rushing out of the building and drove over the speed limit to get home. Night 3. I tried my best to sleep, but I couldn't stop dreaming about what happened in that pizzeria. I hadn't slept in 2 days. I couldn't fall asleep. Something unsettling about that place was creeping me out. I grabbed something to eat and flopped onto my couch. It was a worn but sturdy couch. I turned on the news and saw that JAKALAS Play Place was a hit for kids and grown-ups. Hello, my name is Lake Looper, and I'm here with Dr. Stuart Traza, and today we will be talking about JAKALAS Play Place. How are you today, Dr. Traza? Thanks for asking, Leith. I'm doing great. Now that JAKALA and his friends are a huge hit for kids and grown-ups alike. Amazing. Well, Dr. Traza, I see that you brought with you a prototype of the original JAKALA. Yes, Leith, I have. I brought the very first model for the very first restaurant that had been turned into a play place. Wow, you've been very successful. Now, let's see how... That was a very horrid show. I thought I heard screams when the show was over. That night, I ran into the pizza place. It was still open at 10:30. That's weird. It's never open this late. Walked around on the hard checkered tile to see some other robot on the stage. It was a black dog with a keyboard. His name was Traza. 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 I saw a worker powering it on. Hey, these robots tried to kill me last night. Do you know why? No, he scoffed. I walked into my office to see workers installing another thing. What's this lever do? It's a control shock for Traza. Control shock? I had no idea what he meant by that, but I didn't want to know. That night, in my office, I kept a tight eye on the animatronics. I think that they're very dangerous, considering that they tried to kill me. I watched as Traza ran out of my sight and out of view of all the cameras. He was gone. I looked at both of my doors that were open and welcoming. Then I closed both of the doors and listened to see if I could hear something. All I heard was the faint buzzing of the fuse box and the blades turning on my desk fan. I was in fear for 30 long minutes before reopening the doors. Traza was back on stage and Priscilla was in the kitchen. JAKALA was in the storage room backstage, and that was full of robots parts such as eyes and earpieces. Everything seemed okay until Traza was gone again. I reached for the control shock in the left door and flipped it. I heard a terrible screeching sound and saw as Traza fell to the floor, twitching on the ground. Oh no, I'm in big trouble. My heart was pounding like pistons in a car. I carefully walked onto the stage and noticed something, an open door with a tall figure beneath the banner sticking out of the small crack of the door. It looked like a costume that was worn by a tall man who worked here. Then I saw it come out of the room. The room it was in was called the safe room. This is not right. The robots were dangerous. They could hurt someone. Yet no one seems frightened, or at least scared. If I figure out how to make them scary, then I could show the world how dangerous they are. But how? I got it! I grabbed a camera and brought it to work to film my entire shift. That night, I turned on my camera and filmed myself walking through the entrance and turned to the left to see the creepy robots. Their eyes were staring endlessly in the dark void of the old building. I walked cautiously through the dark hall before reaching the office. I set the camera down and watched the cameras closely to see if Traza had moved. But instead of Traza moving, JAKALA started sprinting into the hall on the way to my office. Ah! I screamed in terror as I pushed the big glowing button on the door to close the big heavy metal door. Holy crap, I'm going to die. I quickly grabbed my camera and filmed Jakala banging hard on the rusty door. I gotta get out of here. I slowly crept along the wall of the long hallway and walked into the dark kitchen. 1 a.m. Soon, I slowly walked towards the big pizza ovens and stopped, only to hear someone breathing down my neck. I quickly turned to see Priscilla directly in front of me. I froze in terror to see Priscilla's head spin around and reveal a twisted form of what was once a cute cat, but now a demonic demon. I ran as fast as my legs would take me, and soon came to a stop. The wall. I was cornered in the dark kitchen with a huge, hungry robot. I glanced to see a flashlight within reach. I quickly grabbed the flashlight and shined it directly into the 6-foot huge robot. 2 a.m. I ran out of the dark kitchen and carefully into the bathrooms. First, I turn on the flashlight and see a creep into the big 6-stall bathroom. What was that? Come play. No, I don't want to. I just want to go home. I say with a tear in my eye. I'm running into the farthest stall in the bathroom. I sit and wait until the whispers stop, but they do never stop. They do continue on and on and on and on. I rush out of the bathroom and towards the old door that leads to the boiler room. 3:45 a.m. I walked directly into the old broken stairs and turned my flashlight into the direction of my eyes and watched as something skitters across the room, made of something big, almost like one of those robots. I made it into the old stone floor and then heard some kind of gas come out of a pipe. My vision went blurry and I went 0:00 a.m. I woke feeling very dizzy, almost like I had to puke, and stood up. I felt very lightheaded and almost stiff, but when I took a step, clang, the audible sound of metal hitting some hard surface. At that moment, I stopped and saw right in front of me was the old Jakala prototype. "Hello, worker," the robot said through an old, creaky voice box. "I see that you have been fortunate enough to be a robot, just like me," he sneered. "Wait, you are the one who—" Yes, exactly. It was me who murdered all of those helpless little kids. I had to. "You murderer!" I lunged towards him. He dodged me, pouncing on my back in the process. "You will suffer, just like me!" I ripped him off with immense force and threw him onto the hard stone ground. I quickly started to punch him and stood up. Then the robot's eyes shut off. "Man, you don't know when to quit," a voice came from behind me. I fell to the ground with an awful pain in my chest. I found it hard to breathe. I watched as a pile of blood and guts formed under my now metal body. I screamed in agony and started to feel sleepy. I felt like my body would pop, and then my eyes came out of their sockets, and I fell asleep. The next day, my mom called the police and filed a missing persons case. Later that day, Jakala's place was closed down due to sewage leaking, as corporate said, so people wouldn't start asking about what happened. People said that there were ghost stories about the place, but no one really believed them. But when the police came to investigate, something happened.